Hi guys, welcome to the first episode of Ticking Minutes with LADOV, Lawyers Against Domestic Violence. I am your host, Obande Steffi Ire. LADOV is a platform that was formed by young undergraduate students to tackle the menace of domestic violence in our societies. Today we are going to be going into the definition, looking broadly on the definition of domestic violence and the different forms of domestic violence. Domestic violence, is a coming together of two different words as the simple term of it. Violence and domestic. Domestic has to do with habitation, our environment, our surrounding, our closets within us. Violence is the exertion or the use of physical force to harm, to cause injury, or to destroy a thing or a person. Domestic violence, as the term implies in its simplest of explanation, is the use of physical force on one person by another to create fear, injury, intimidation, or anything of that nature. Most times to create control and dominance over the person. It happens mostly in a domestic environment, as the name implies, in a family setting, in a marriage or cohabitation, sort of. There are different forms of domestic violence. We have the psychological violence, we have the emotional violence, we have the physical violence, the sexual violence, and we also have the economic or financial violence. Now, the economic and financial violence, as the name implies, is a situation where one spouse, with force, uses force to deprive the other spouse of his economic rights. A typical example of this is a situation where there's a joint account, where two people have a joint account and logically they both have access to that account. But where one spouse has vehemently refused the access of another spouse to that account, you are economically depriving that person. And that is domestic abuse because it's between spouses, it's in a marriage setting and it's in a domestic setting. So that makes it domestic abuse. Also, we have the psychological form of abuse and the emotional form of abuse. These two are intertwined together because one transgresses to the other. Emotional abuse is a situation where a person's self-worth and self-confidence is being undermined, is being relentlessly criticized. You are always continuously criticizing and intimidating such a person, either publicly or privately, where you see a wife always telling the husband, you are a 1-minute man, you are all talk and no do, you can't provide for your family. See, Mr. A is providing for his family like this, you are not providing what Mr. A provided for his family. You are always making the man feel less of himself. Or you as a husband, you're always making your wife, you're body shaming your wife. You're always telling her, I did not marry you as fat as you are. Now see how you are. I don't feel attracted to you anymore. You're not as sexy as you used to be. Or as a mother, you're always telling your children that they are useless, they are good for nothing, they don't have brains just because they haven't attained the height that your neighbor's children have attained. And that's a form of emotional abuse. It's a verbal form of abuse where you are always undermining the capabilities of another person and making them feel less of their self. We also have, the sexual abuse. The sexual abuse is a situation where, a spouse exerts force on another spouse or uses physical force to get his sexual satisfaction from the other spouse. It happens, and in Nigeria, it's a crime. It's an indecent assault. We also have a situation where, a husband may, exert force on the housemaid, and then you force the housemaid to sleep with you just to satisfy your sexual pleasure. That is sexual abuse. Or where the wife forces the gate man or the gardener to sleep with her to satisfy her sexual pleasure. That is sexual abuse. Also, we have physical violence or physical form of abuse. That is the most common form of abuse. A lot of people, know that form of abuse very well because we've seen it amongst ourselves, amongst a lot of places. That's the one a lot of people are actually, familiar with. That kind of abuse, comes with hitting, punches, bruises, kicking. You physically see what this other person is doing to you. When you threaten to harm someone, and then the person, you actually do harm the person. You actually take on your threat on another person, and then it's physical. You can see it. You're doing something that other people can also see the end product of your action. that is physical abuse. Now, these are the various forms of domestic abuse. I told you it starts from physical, there's emotional, there's psychological, there's also economic and financial, and there's sexual abuse. I hope today you've learned a thing or two on domestic violence. We've talked about the definition, and we've also gone through the various forms of domestic violence. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you actually learned a thing or two from it, please like, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Also, click on the notification bar to give you notifications on newest videos that are being uploaded on this channel. Please follow us on our social media handles, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at official LADOV. Meet us here same time next week, and we'll be here to talk about another issue of domestic violence. Thank you. God bless you.